Hey there, everybody. This is the first. This is an interview that I have done with NazareN channel out of New Jersey in the good old US of A. Now, let me just tell you that his channel, he says, is the most shadow banned channel on YouTube. Saying that he's shadow banned is an understatement. His channel has been moved to another planet and buried. And this is on the Prove to Me That You're Alive litecast. Now let me tell you something about NazareN. He has interviewed some of the most influential people you could ever come across. He has interviewed Dr. Shiva Ayada Rai, the inventor of email, and also a presidential candidate. He's also interviewed Patrick L. Riley, a war veteran, who's also a presidential candidate. He has interviewed Dr. Leonard Caldwell, who has sold hundreds of millions of books and is probably the best doctor I have ever heard speak in my life. He has also interviewed one of the most famous Ukrainian actresses, Snezhana Igorova, and she is the woman who launched Zedski's career in show business. Since then, he's had her driven out of the country. Her and her children were under threat and sanctions, and now she's moved to Turkey. He interviewed Bart Sibrel, the man who wrote the book A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon and made the movie about it, and they tried to kill him. Now, recently, Bart Sibrel was on Joe Rogan, and on Joe Rogan, he got 1.4 million views. NazareN comes along and interviews him, and he's lucky to get 80 views. That's shadow banned. Recently, he's interviewed Sacha Stone. Many of you have heard of Sacha Stone, one of the cleverest men in this world. And these are absolutely brilliant interviews. He also interviewed American military historian David Pine and many influential American musicians. If you go looking for NazareN's channel, you ain't going to find it. But I will put a link in the description as to how you're going to find it. So let me get this. Let me get it go. Here we go.
You had a cholera epidemic. 1719, you had the so-called bubonic plague. So this number 19 is very significant to them. And if you look through the history of many historical characters, like Napoleon or even ancient Irish history, ancient English history, the amount of times that they stick the number 19 into a narrative is a calling sign which tells us that they are making it all up.
Prove to me that you're alive.
Boom, 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 boom! Welcome everyone to Prove to Me That You're Alive. The only, nope, I got a new one. The most shadow banned podcast and channel in the world, man. It's a new slogan. And today, our guest, which is not a guest at all, because this is also his channel, this is also his podcast, and he comes from another most shadow banned channel on the internet, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited today, man, because I don't have to put on a suit. I don't gotta act all proper and stuff, man. I could just sit back and chill because today we have the man, the legend, the host of the Jim Dillinger channel, which you have to go see. You cannot miss this. And soon, hopefully, we're going to get a cooking show from this guy. So without further ado, the one, the only, Jim Dillinger. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have claps over here. How are you, my brother?
I'm okay, taking over, enjoying the Indian summer weather conditions we're having today. Nice blue sky, no wind. That type of thing, yeah. Doing nothing, being as lazy as I can be.
Listen, how are you feeling? How are you feeling internally lately? Honestly, because I don't know about you, like I've been feeling this like weird. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like sadness or something, or whatever, right? Like I feel sad once in a while, but the more people I talk to, the more people are relating these feelings to me. How are you feeling lately?
Well, more down than up, but you know, finding enough things to distract me and keep my mind off all the things that are making everybody feel down, you know?
Yeah, the reason I asked you because I've been really contemplating, like I mean, obviously with all with all the craziness that's going on in the world. First, it's all these conflicts and wars and shit is like blowing up all around the world. Then they like try to threaten us with thermonuclear wars. Now we freaking got some drones and shit, flying around. So I understand, why a lot of people feel under pressure, but I'm noticing that it might be something else, and what I mean is it's either connected to electromagnetism, maybe some sort of waves that are being manipulated, or which leads me to our first topic, this whole drones situation. And why I say that is because I spoke to someone that's been getting some crazy videos lately, and I don't know if you heard this, but they're talking about that they're spraying something in air, man. So that's going to be my first question of the day. What are your thoughts on this whole New Jersey drones or drone situation, and the second part of the question is, have you noticed like maybe them spraying anything or anything like that? Like, what are your thoughts, Jim?
Well, it's not just New Jersey. There are reports coming out of the UK, reports coming out of a few other countries, I heard. People are placed in a position of helplessness. And that can get anybody to feel down. It's a deliberate act to make people feel like something's happening to them and there's nothing that they can do about it. And then, of course, you have the disinformation and you've got the no information and you've got all the liars in the world saying, oh, we don't know what's going on. And it's not this, it's not that, it's not aliens, it's not a foreign entity. We just don't know. I mean, anybody who believes that they don't know, I feel sorry for them. But the rest of the people, there are a lot of people out there who have not been waiting for this, and it's suddenly thrown upon them, and there will be a feeling of helplessness that they will feel inside themselves. Oh, what can we do about it? Personally, I don't give a shit about all these drones, and I don't know if they are spraying anything. I saw an interesting video yesterday where a guy showed some incredible holograms I hadn't seen before. Holograms put out in front of crowds where everybody can see these crazy things and they're all wow, wee, woo, wow. So, I mean, if aliens wanted to come here and do us harm, why show up now? They could have shown up anytime in the past 1,000 years, if they have. So, they're playing tricks on people, but there is a sinister purpose behind them all. And whether they agree with it or not, who knows? Nobody's trustworthy. There isn't a politician in the world that's trustworthy, or a president or a prime minister. These people, they will carry out commands from the corporate overlord. Well, one good thing about it all is we all know that the system hates us. We're hated by them, yeah? But people should know that this system does have a tiny amount of respect for us because we refuse to go along with them. The politicians that carry out their orders, the system has zero respect for them. They hate them more than they hate us. They don't realize that. And thrown under the bus they will be, whether they get retribution in this life for their deeds or the next life. It don't matter. It's common to them for their ill deeds. Yeah.
You said something something so important, man. I mean, you know, that's why I pay attention to you, man, because a lot of stuff that you say, you know, can go over people's heads, man, but I pay attention. You pointed out that it's, you know, what I think you're saying is that this is like emotional terrorism, man, you know? Do you know, you've been around for a minute, you know, you've seen so much in your life. Do you ever remember a time period like this? Can you compare this to any other time period?
Oh, not in my personal experience in life. I've seen dozens of craft in the sky that you could call UFO. I couldn't identify it. So, and it was flying and it was an object. So I've never been afraid of them. I've heard many stories about them planning something like this, and I'm sure you've seen the videos of the interviews done with Werner von Braun's secretary.
Of course.
She said Werner kept telling her that the final card they're going to play is a fake alien invasion. So how that would pan out, it can only be used to frighten people, to emotionally disturb them. History is all a lie, as we know. Even alternative history may not be true, as you know. But like, you know, there are paintings in the Vatican, which they say are from the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th century, which show similar type of craft that we see today in the background, in the sky. But like, I saw a video once where a guy was comparing pictures and depictions of UFOs from the 50s being similar to what you would see in a 50s car. And then if the pictures went into the 60s, you could.
You cut out, man. You cut out. Oh,
I'm here.
There you are. Okay. Yeah. I see what you're leading to. So you're basically saying that they're keeping up with the times in order to you know, subconsciously kind of like they're keeping up with the times, basically, right?
With the weirdest Lamborghinis you've ever seen in your life, and then we get these craft that are all slick and maneuverable and fast and really high tech compared to what they used to show us in the 50s, you know. But all that started with Walt Disney in the 20s or 30s. He was making cartoons about this shit back then. They planned it, and they predicted in the programming that came out in the programs that they made.
They prepared us for all this. They wrote the books of predictions, so it's very easy for them to make their predictions come true. You know?
My question was my question was do you remember in your life such a time of panic? Because we've been at least for the last 100 years of what they call after the Industrial Revolution, we've been sort of always living through some sort of a time of panic, be it from the Spanish flu to World War I, World War II, and then all these wars, and then the Cold War, where everyone like. But do you yourself personally remember the state of panic of the population on this scale, or do you think that they hit the charts this time?
No, I haven't seen anything like this before. They really have upped their assault on mankind. I mean, I grew up in a bit of a war zone.
Yes.
And we never really panicked even then. And then, I mean, I've never ever believed a word that came out of their mouths about terrible things coming or terrible things have happened, just happened, or going to happen. I don't watch the news. I don't watch TV. I don't listen to the radio.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
read newspapers. I just don't let their sound vibration enter my ears. I choose what I want to see and decipher. You see, if their lips are moving, they're lying. That's number one. Right?
Yes, sir.
And, you mentioned there the Spanish flu. It's a similar thing to what happened 5 years ago. And we had that thing 5 years ago on the 19, in 20, they called it 19. 100 years previous, in 1919, you had the Spanish flu. In 1819, you had a cholera epidemic. In 1719, you had the so-called bubonic plague. So this number 19 is very significant to them. And if you look through...
Prove to me that you are alive.
History of many historical characters, like Napoleon, or even ancient Irish history, ancient English history, the amount of times that they stick the number 19 into a narrative is a calling sign, which tells us that they are making it all up. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
So I don't buy what happened 5 years ago. I don't buy what happened 100 years ago, 200 or 300. But they can force people to accept it. Fear is a terrible thing. So out of fear, many people react. Like you saw the fear yourself. A guy walks into the shopping mall without a mask on him 5 years ago, and the people who are scared to death start screaming at him, "Hey, you gotta put your mask on. You're gonna contaminate the whole supermarket," So that's out of fear. Ignorance, stupidity. And this is a fear, ignorant, stupid world. From top to bottom. It's a place where living entities come to bicker and fight with each other. Pre-planned as well from lifetimes ago. Yeah, and it's a time travel zone. And your time travel starts at conception and it ends when you leave your body. It's a prison plane of existence. The prison sentence starts at conception and ends when you leave your body. And then you can get thrown back into the prison again. And that cycle can repeat and repeat and repeat. And I'm not even going to start discussing ways of how to get out of this prison. That's a whole other, what do you call it? Fucking, not one video, but an entire series of videos that you need to watch for 12 hours a day, every day of your life, basically, if you want to figure out how to get out of this prison.
I mean, we could get into that a little bit. So basically, you yourself, from everything that you have gathered lately, you are leaning towards the false flag. By the way, I have to mention in here before I forget, Jim Dillinger, he talked about this shit, man. I say he prophesized it, but you talked about this shit, man. Me and you have been back and forth for many years now, man. And I remember you talked about this shit, man. I remember you talked about it before the pandemic, man. So, Mr. Jim Dillinger, right now, are you leaning towards that this whole drone situation is actually what you've been saying for all these years, a false flag operation, man?
Most likely. What else is there? Have you ever seen a real flag situation? No. Everything.
I love it, man. I gotta listen, Jim, man. If you ever want to record a rap album with me, I'm waiting. I swear, man. You and your similes and metaphors, man. You gotta start rapping, man. I'm waiting.
I've been writing rap songs in my head. Haven't put them down to paper.
I knew it.
You know?
You say some of the most clever shit ever. We gotta like do a fucking t-shirt with this or something. He said, "You ever seen a real flag operation?" Holy shit, man. That was classic.
Yeah. So they're all false flags. Any real flag situations that have happened have been removed from the history books. Now, I have seen from my observations that the War of 1812 was a world war that would make World War I and World War II look like you and me playing toy soldiers on the floor.
Expand that, please.
I'm talking about massive worldwide destruction with weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, sir.
Removed from the history books. You can go into Wikipedia, all right, and you can look wars of 1812, and they'll show you 200 or 300 wars that are going on, but they want you to believe that they were all little skirmishes.
Running around with pitchforks and shit, right?
Yeah. The Indian Wars, the American-Spanish War, the War of so many of them I can't even think which one right now, but loads and loads. But no, that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And if you Google Earth and you look like from the west coast of the U.S. to the east coast of the U.S., all you see is the remains of destroyed cities.
Yes, sir.
Desert, in the mountains, in the deserts, underneath the cities that you're living in, all across Alaska, northern Canada, all the way across through Siberia, all the way across Russia. I showed in one of my videos once ground-penetrating radar from the north of Siberia, 1,000 miles from where anybody lives, and there were 15-story apartment blocks under the ground.
Yes, sir.
And you go to the old world maps, there were hundreds and thousands of cities. So what was the population? What happened to them? So they try to frighten everybody to death now with nuclear bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever seen one.
Mm.
And they say that a nuclear bomb is the most technically complicated and superior piece of construction that they've ever constructed.
Mm.
One of them, there's never been an accident.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has never gone off when the guy's screwing it together. Yeah, and there is human error in everything.
Yes, sir.
But putting that aside, I reckon they have weapons of mass destruction, much worse than anything that a person could think a nuclear bomb is. But we're never going to be talking about them.
Yeah.
And in that war of 1812, these weapons of mass destruction were used.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been planning to make a video for a long time on the Carolina Bays.
Mm.
You know those things?
Yes, sir.
These craters in the earth. And they're not circular, they're oblong, oval, where they didn't hit the earth at a 90-degree perpendicular angle. They came in at an angle. They're as far as Texas. They're in Florida. They're all over the US.
Yes, sir.
They all point back to a launch site in Lake Erie.
Mm.
Now, history and mainstream academia will tell you that a comet hit the Earth and split. Comets don't hit the Earth. Nothing hits the Earth unless it's been fired from the Earth or from another part of the ocean outside of our Earth.
Mm.
So some type of craft was in Lake Erie and was able to launch projectiles right across the United States.
Mm.
And blast the fucking... What kind of weapon is that?
Mm-hmm.
That's worse than any fucking nuclear weapon you could ever think of.
Yes, sir.
So I don't buy that they got nuclear weapons. And then, of course, if you want to go to Japan at the end of the war, when they say they did these two things that ended the war to Japan, within 2 or 3 days, the city was back open. The trams were up and running. Food stalls were up and running. The flower stalls were up and running. You go to any of these sites where you have had these nuclear disasters, there ain't no fucking radiation. So, dying about what they got, it doesn't scare me, it doesn't scare you, but the people out there in the world scared shitless of these things.
Man, I think again, you said something so important before when you talked about during the crazy ass, couple of years that we had after 2020, man. Now we can't even mention that shit because the videos are gonna freaking, get blocked and everything. But we know what we're talking about. When you're talking about, you're walking in a store and someone runs up to you, and my wife and I had, these incidences all the time because we're like you. We're not putting a fucking mask on. I'm not like, we're walking in a store. So what I'm trying to say is I think that's another huge problem is that when times like these come, it's like, okay, like, we have a sort of an idea of who the enemy is, but then all these people hop on that fucking wagon, man. It's your neighbor, it's your friend, it's your lady at the local store and shit. They're hopping on these fucking wagons, man. So my question is, like, what would your advice be to people? Like, you're saying you're not afraid. Like, what helps you not be afraid, man? By the way, everyone, go to Jim Dillinger. I always leave the link in the description. It's always there. Go to the channel, man. You're going to have fun. You're going to hear some shit you've never heard before. You're going to see some cool shit. Like, go to that channel, man. But, yeah, Jim, so what would your advice be to all of us, and what helps you, like, not to fall into the whole fear feeling, man?
Well, do not comply. If people en masse did not comply, then they're gone.
Hmm.
Their whole existence is on our compliance. Sits on our compliance. If we just told them, didn't take part anymore, they're gone. So they rely on people's fear, miseducation, and I mean, I don't want to insult anybody, but low level of intelligence.
Yes, sir.
They rely on it. They created it. They made people dumb. They make them dumb through the food, the additives in the food, their television programming, where their mind is being programmed. And I saw one funny video back during the scare 4 or 5 years ago, where the cop in America pulled this guy over. He was at a set of traffic lights at a junction, and the lights went green, and he floored his car, and he went sideways onto the lane and down the road, and the cops pulled up and caught him. What the fuck are you doing? Did you not hear the radio? Russia's preparing a thermonuclear explosion. I just wanted to get home before that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's not funny, man.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. No, it is funny. I have no. You asked me one day there last time, was I an empath? No, I ain't, man. I got no fucking compassion for these idiots whatsoever.
Holy shit. Yeah, man, but yeah, the education system, the food, man. So are you saying, like, in a way, you kind of lost hope for most of the sheeple, man?
Prove to me that you're alive.
Prove to me that you're alive.